When my uncle Silas passed away, the family buzzed with talk of who would inherit his fortune. He wasn't just wealthy, he owned multiple estates, drove cars most people only saw in magazines, and had investments rumored to be spread across the country. Everyone assumed his death meant life-changing wealth for us all. My cousins entered the lawyer's office practically salivating at the thought of claiming their share of his $35 million estate. I didn't feel the same way. My mother, Mara, had always taught me that dignity mattered more than money. I had never had much anyway. I worked long hours at a lumber mill, barely scraping by, and helped my mother with bills since my father passed. I wasn't dreaming of luxury cars or vacation homes, yet I hoped my uncle had left me something meaningful, a sign that he hadn't overlooked me entirely. The lawyer read the will, and just as everyone expected, my cousins received exactly what they wanted. Roland, the oldest, inherited a lakefront mansion and a collection of antique cars. Cynthia received a trust fund that would secure her for life. Their smug smiles filled the room. Then the lawyer reached my name. I straightened my back, hoping for at least a modest piece of security for my mother and me. Instead, I heard, to my nephew, Eldon, I leave one old metal toolbox, contents unknown. Laughter erupted from my cousins. Roland sneered. Perfect. The loser gets the junk. Cynthia added, I guess Silas thought you'd be more comfortable with trash than treasure. Everyone else chuckled or shook their heads as if it were a joke. My face burned, but I remained silent, accepting the toolbox, though my heart sank. Walking out of the lawyer's office with that dented, rusted box was one of the most humiliating moments of my life. While they held deeds and bank papers, I held a piece of junk. Whispers followed me, each step reminding me how little they thought of me. What none of them knew, and what I didn't realize yet, was that the true story wasn't about what they received or what I hadn't. It was what lay hidden inside that box. And when I discovered it, my life changed in ways none of us could have imagined. After leaving the lawyer's office, I couldn't shake the feeling of being the butt of a cruel joke. My cousins strutted to their cars with folders full of deeds and bank statements, while I clutched a rusty toolbox. Their laughter still rang in my ears, louder than the traffic outside. I wanted to believe there was more to it, that maybe Uncle Silas had a reason, but standing there in the parking lot, humiliation was the only thing I felt. At home, my mother waited. She had stayed behind during the reading due to her frail health, sparing her from witnessing her son mocked. When I walked in, she looked up from her chair, hands folded, and gave me a gentle smile. "What did your uncle leave you, Eldon?" she asked softly. I set the toolbox on the kitchen table, with a dull thud. This. Just this. She studied it quietly, her gaze lingering on my shoulders, rather than the rusted metal. "Do not be ashamed," she said. "Sometimes the smallest gifts carry the greatest meaning." I wanted to believe her, but my pride was bruised. All my life, I had worked hard, cared for her, and never asked for more than a fair chance. I had hoped Uncle Silas might see that. Yet here I was, made to look foolish in front of family who thought I was nothing. To understand my bitterness, you need to know who Silas really was. To our town, he was larger than life. He built his fortune through shipping and real estate, buying unwanted land and turning it into empires. He always arrived in a new car, in suits more expensive than my yearly wages. At family gatherings, he never bragged, but his presence highlighted everyone else's shortcomings. I admired him as a child. I remember being 10 at a family reunion, watching him hand out gifts. Roland got a leather baseball glove. Cynthia received a shiny bicycle with ribbons. I waited, hoping for something small, maybe a toy car. When Silas finally turned to me, he patted my shoulder. "One day, Eldon, you'll understand that not all treasures shine," he said, and walked away, leaving me nothing. At the time, I thought he had forgotten me. As I grew, I wondered if he saw something in me that couldn't be rewarded with material gifts. Still, when the will reading named only a rusty toolbox, I felt like that overlooked child again. Roland and Cynthia always carried themselves like royalty in the family. Roland bragged about his business ventures at every holiday dinner, though most failed. Arrogance was his armor, and his laughter cut deeper than words. Cynthia was just as sharp-tongued, viewing my hard work at the mill as evidence of a lack of ambition, not loyalty or perseverance. To them, my life was a series of failures, and the toolbox confirmed their judgment. I carried that weight home to our modest house. The linoleum floor peeled, wallpaper curled at the edges, and my mother's medications lined the counter, a constant reminder of bills that never stopped. I had no mansion, no car, no savings, only pride, labor, and my promise to care for my mother. The toolbox sat on the kitchen table for hours, as I tried to ignore it. I made dinner, beans and cornbread, our usual, listening to my mother hum as she sewed a button back onto my work shirt. She had endured both hardship and comfort, and always said a man is measured by how he carries himself when he has nothing. That night, I realized the humiliation stung, not just because of my cousin's laughter, but because I feared my uncle had never truly seen me either. Maybe he thought of me as scraps, unworthy of trust, but Mara's words echoed. The smallest gifts sometimes carry the greatest meaning. She believed it, and her faith kept me from discarding the box. I ran my fingers over the rough metal, noticing its unusual weight. It wasn't just physical. It felt like it held a secret. On the third evening, Roland appeared at my door, leaning against the frame, his silk shirt crisp. He grinned mockingly. "So, cousin," he said, "how's that treasure treating you? Found any golden nails yet?" I clenched my jaw, forcing politeness. Roland smirked. "That's all you'll ever get, Eldon. Junk for a junk man." Cynthia nearly choked on her laughter, imagining you polishing that rusty box. My mother's sharp voice cut through. "Roland, that's enough." But he shrugged, waved mockingly, and left. His laughter echoed as he drove away. I sat hard in my chair, staring at the toolbox. The words stung, not because I believed them, but because I had no proof he was wrong. I opened the lid, half hoping for a miracle. Inside were ordinary tools, a hammer with a splintered handle, a few wrenches, a cracked tape measure. Nothing remarkable, yet the strange heaviness persisted. I felt a rattle beneath the bottom. My pulse quickened. I carried the toolbox into the bedroom and set it on the floor. Tapping the bottom panel, I realized it wasn't hollow. With a screwdriver, I pried it open, muscles tense with anticipation. Finally, a small hidden compartment appeared. Inside was an old flip phone, dusty and scratched, its antenna bent. I pressed the power button. The screen lit faintly, and the phone rang. My heart nearly stopped. Fumbling with the buttons, I saw incoming flash on the display. My mother whispered from the doorway, "Answer it." A deep voice said, "If you are hearing this, it means Silas trusted you. The real inheritance begins now." I froze. "Who is this?" I asked, voice cracking. "You will know soon enough. Follow the instructions. Do not share this with anyone else. The others would not understand. This is between you and the man who knew your worth." The call ended abruptly. My mother stepped closer, her hand on my shoulder. "Your uncle was complicated, but never wasted trust. If he chose you, there's a reason." Sitting on the edge of the bed, phone warm in hand, I felt a spark of possibility. The humiliation of the will reading faded, replaced by something heavier, responsibility. I realized I had been chosen. Silas had left me more than scraps. He had left a secret, and perhaps a duty. That night, I barely slept. The phone lay silent on the nightstand, yet its presence was heavier than its ring had been. I kept replaying the words, "The real inheritance begins now." Was it a gift or a trap? Either way, my life had changed. The toolbox had carried not only metal, but the weight of a secret that could reshape everything. The next morning, my mother found me at the kitchen table, exhausted, the toolbox pushed aside. She poured coffee and said softly, "You have to decide, Eldon. Ignore it and keep living as usual, or follow where it leads." Silas went to the trouble of hiding that phone. This is no joke. She was right. Humiliation still burned, but now I held something they didn't. I had been chosen, though I didn't yet understand why. That evening, the phone rang again. I nearly dropped it. The same calm, measured voice instructed. There is a storage facility on the edge of town. Unit 17. The code is your father's birthday. Go tonight. Do not tell anyone. The private knowledge, details only a family member could know, confirmed the phone's authenticity. My mother nodded gravely. Your uncle trusted you. If you go, take the truck, and don't let your cousins see you. By 9 that night, I was behind the wheel of my old pickup toolbox locked in the back, phone in my pocket. The roads were silent, every sound sharper in the dark. At the storage facility, the phone buzzed again. The gate code is your high school graduation year. Then go straight to Unit 17. I punched the numbers, the gate creaking open. Inside, rows of metal doors stretched in dim light. I parked before Unit 17. The keypad blinked red. My father's birthday unlocked it, and the door released with a heavy clank. Inside smelled of dust and oil. It looked ordinary at first. Shelves, a tarp covering something large, stacks of boxes. Yet the atmosphere carried weight, as if intention had been placed in every detail. The phone buzzed. You are in the right place. Look beneath the tarp, then read the letter on the desk. I stepped carefully inside. Lifting the tarp revealed 3 metal crates, stenciled with property of S. Holloway. Beside them, a sturdy desk held a single envelope with my name. Hands trembling, I opened it. The letter, in my uncle's handwriting, read, Eldon, if you are reading this, you have already proven yourself. I left estates and money to your cousins, because that is what they wanted. It will ruin them. You, however, I trust with what truly matters. These crates contain part of my legacy records, maps, and evidence of investments only you can manage. I chose you because you work with your hands, live with humility, and understand loyalty. Protect it. This is your inheritance. I sank to the floor. My uncle had not abandoned me. The humiliation I felt days before dissolved, replaced by a heavier, stronger emotion, responsibility. I looked at the crates, their steel sides gleaming under the dim light. Each was locked with heavy padlocks stamped SH. I tried lifting the first one. It barely budged. Whatever lay inside carried serious weight. I grabbed a crowbar, wedged it under the lock, and forced it open. Inside, neatly stacked, were gold bars, dozens of them shining even in the low light. I had only seen gold in pictures, yet the glow was undeniable. My knees nearly buckled. The second crate held bundles of cash, tightly wrapped, crisp even with age. The third was different, leather-bound journals, rolled maps, and a set of old keys. Flipping through a journal, I found careful handwriting, documenting accounts, investments, and properties across states. It was not just wealth, it was a blueprint of something far greater, something my cousins would never imagine. The phone rang again. I answered, voice trembling. Open them, the voice instructed. Gold, cash, journals. I had my uncle's true fortune. Not the flashy estates or cars, the voice explained. Silas trusted you to carry it forward. You have the heart to protect it, not squander it. He knew you cared for your mother, that you earned your life with humility, and would not betray him. That is why you were chosen, not Roland or Cynthia. Tears stung my eyes. I looked down at the gold, cash, and journals, feeling the weight of a legacy far beyond material wealth. The mocking laughter of my cousins replayed in my mind, but it no longer hurt. They had the estates. I had the real inheritance. Suddenly, headlights swept across the storage unit. My stomach dropped as Roland's car rolled in. He climbed out, phone to ear, scanning the rows. The loser's truck is here. He's hiding something, he said. My heart raced. I whispered into the phone. Roland's here, what do I do? Lock the unit and leave. Protect what's inside. Do not let him see it, the voice replied. I slammed the crate lids, yanked the tarp back, and locked the door. Roland's footsteps grew closer, impatience in his voice. Eldon, open up, let me see what you've got. I walked calmly toward my truck, every muscle tense. It's just an old box, I said steadily. You came all this way for nothing. His suspicion was clear. "You're lying," he spat. But for the first time, I didn't feel small next to him. I started the engine, looked him in the eye, and said, "Uncle Silas left me what I needed. That's all you need to know." I pulled away, leaving Roland behind, fists clenched, pride wounded. Back home, my mother waited at the window. She saw my expression and said nothing. "You've found it, haven't you?" I nodded, the weight of it all crashing down. She placed her hand on mine. "Then carry it wisely. That is what your uncle wanted." The true climax wasn't discovering gold or journals. It was realizing that Silas had believed in me when no one else did. The toolbox, the false bottom, and the hidden phone were all keys guiding me toward the truth. My inheritance was not just wealth, it was trust, responsibility, and the chance to prove myself. In the following days, I cataloged the contents of the crates. The gold and cash could erase every debt I had and still leave a fortune. But the journals captivated me. They were my uncle's thoughts, strategies, mistakes, and hopes. He had documented how he built his empire: patience, persistence, and calculated risks. He wrote about those he trusted and those who betrayed him, sharing lessons that only someone he truly trusted could handle. Meanwhile, Roland and Cynthia grew suspicious. They noticed I was no longer crushed by my worthless gift. Roland confronted me, his voice dripping with suspicion. "What are you hiding?" I met his gaze calmly. "I'm not hiding anything. I'm just living my life." He left confused, unsure how to respond. Cynthia tried her mockery, but I ignored her words. I knew the truth, and that truth gave me peace. My uncle had seen my worth. My mother had always believed in me. That was enough. I began using the inheritance purposefully. I paid my mother's medical bills, provided her comfort, donated to the local church, and repaired the community center where I once spent my afternoons. Wealth had meaning only when used for good. Meanwhile, my cousins remained trapped in endless greed, blind to the legacy I now held. One evening, Roland demanded answers. "What did Silas really leave you?" I looked him in the eye, calm and steady. "Something you'll never understand, trust." For the first time, he had no response. Months passed. I was transformed. Not the man mocked as a failure, not the nephew with a rusty toolbox. I was a man carrying a legacy, defined not by greed, but by purpose. The toolbox remains in my home, not as a symbol of humiliation, but as a reminder that life sometimes hides its greatest gifts in the plainest packages. This story isn't about boasting wealth. It's about what it taught me. Never let the laughter of others convince you of your worthlessness. Never assume a small gift has no value. Real inheritance isn't measured in estates, cars, or bank accounts. It's measured in trust, responsibility, and how you act when opportunity arrives. Uncle Silas gave me more than money. He gave me the chance to prove myself, and that has changed everything.